to my friend, Michelle Malkin.
Thank you so much. You know, I haven't been back to Washington in quite a while, and it takes a special person and a special organization to lure me back to the swamp. It was an honor and an incredible experience to work with David Bossie, Citizens United, Jason Killian-Meath, and the entire staff on a documentary that is very near and dear to my heart. Because as many of you know, when I decided to bail out and escape the Beltway swamp, the state that my family and I chose was Colorado. And I do not smell like patchouli. I do not bring any weed with me. But we have grown to love that state and the pioneering spirit that it represents. And there are so many incredible grassroots activists, gun rights activists, and energy activists, limited government activists who are fighting to keep that state free and prosperous. This documentary is much more than about what you're actually going to watch. There was a meta story that goes along with the documentary, and it was the court battle that Citizens United waged in order to be able to show it to the world in the first place. And one of the most amazing moments in the making of this documentary and the release and distribution of it came when I was in a courtroom at the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, sitting to the right of David Bossie, which is much easier for us because we're both left-handed, right? It's the only thing left about us. Left-handed people are in the right mind. Yes, thank you. Sitting in that courtroom as Ted Olson argued with such inspiration and passion about how our work product was at the core of protected First Amendment political free speech. And the issues that were before the court, and obviously we prevailed, thank God, and thank God for Citizens United. The core questions that were before the court were some of the questions that I have battled with my entire life as a conservative journalist. What is news? What should be news, and who decides? Because when it's the government and the government apparatchik and political operatives who speak for big government and whose job is to propagandize and to politicize news and decide what you should know and not know and when, these are inherently political questions. And the credentialed journalists who sit in the Sorbonne of elite journalism would like to pretend that they maintain this sense of neutrality and objectivity when we know they are just as partisan and as hitman assassination-ist as the bottom of the barrel scrapers who work for Soros-funded organizations. They are glorified stenographers for the people in power and elitist progressives. And the court ruled in this case that Citizens United and this documentary deserve to be seen by the public. The journalistic malpractice that goes on every single day in this country, and is for as long as I've worked in both old media and new media, is pathological. And as all of you know in this room, it's not merely about sins of commission, but it's the sins of omission. And every day, people who work in alternative media see it, and some of it is sometimes more mundane and seems not so egregious, okay? So how many of you have played Guess the Party on social media, right?
You're right.
If it's a Republican who's involved in a culture of corruption scandal, GOP and Republican are in 100-point Armageddon font right in the headline on the front page. But Sheldon's sober. What party is he in? John Kitzhaber, Guess the Party. But there are larger sins of omission that go on that play into the insidious narratives of the progressive left day after day after day, and that's what I've spent most of my career trying to push back on with books like Culture of Corruption and with the blogs that I've founded and the newspaper columns that I do every day. And the work that Citizens United has done over the years accomplishes the same goals with all of the documentaries that they've done. Who decides what's news? Who decides who is a journalist? Any one of you in this room is a journalist. All you have to do is actually commit it. And yet, the way that the progressive left and the elites get to define who is and who is not a journalist borders on the farcical. You can work for I don't know, 2 mainstream newspapers. You can have traveled to Iraq, as I have done, to report, and no, my helicopter and my C-130 did not get shot down.
Oh, boy, you're lucky. Yeah.
But no, you're not a journalist. However, if you happen to be the son of, I don't know, Mia Farrow and whoever, you don't even have to be on a news station for a day before you're awarded with the Walter Cronkite Journalism Award. Double standards much? I haven't been to a CPAC in many years. The first time I was here was in 2003. It was a little bit after my first book, Invasion, came out. And if you want to talk about journalistic malpractice and sins of omission, there's perhaps no other public policy issue in America where the mainstream media has not only fallen down on its job, but committed active journalistic malpractice when it comes to reporting on immigration enforcement and the immigration travesties that go on every day in this country. We don't just have to fight, those of us in the grassroots conservative movement, the lapdogs in the press, the well-funded progressives, and the Democrats on Capitol Hill, and the Democrats in our state houses. But as every CPAC annual gathering happens to show, a lot of times we can't even win the battles against the elites within our own party. There's no way that we'll be able to succeed in battling the $1 million and $1 billion leftist donors that are funding the efforts to turn states like Colorado blue if we can't even get rid of the progressives that are in charge of the political party here in Washington, D.C. If you are sick and tired of being demonized as a racist, as a hater, as a xenophobe, as somebody who lacks compassion for the poor, for women, for minorities, it's bad enough when you have to combat it against your explicit enemies on the other side, but when you're being fragged on the inside, it makes you wonder whether it's worth the fight at all. I've been doing this a long time. I see a diversity of ages and backgrounds and races and professions represented in this room. But I have been able to get up every single day knowing that there are people like Citizens United and David Bossie in this world willing to fight. You know, before there was new media, before there was Fox News, before there were blogs and Twitter, Citizens United was it with the Drudge Report. And I think it is so important to remember that you have to be in this for the long haul. I've met a lot of young people, they get so burnt out. And then I think about Phyllis Schlafly, okay? Every election cycle, every GOP presidential primary, it's a choice, not an echo, over and over and over again. And she hasn't given up. I'm not going to give up, and neither should you. I hope this documentary gives you inspiration, and I hope that you never ever tire of speaking up and standing out, and yes, being able and willing to discomfit not only the people on the left, but the people on the right who pretend to be on our side, who pay lip service to our values and principles and then stab us in the back. They will have no rest as long as you wake up every morning willing to fight. I thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the documentary.